Alifragkis. I think we met a couple of years ago. It is actually, or no, it's just over a year ago, I think, at the City Lab, which is the Athens City Lab, which is a project, an interdisciplinary project, which you are part of the organizing team and part of the mentorship. And I think you're going to tell us a little bit about your experience with the lab as a space for rethinking and reformulating aspects of the urban environment of the city. Thank you for coming, Stavros.
Well, thank you very much, Trevor, for the invitation. Let me just share my screen with you. Hopefully you are watching at what I'm watching. It's basically, well, an empty slide right now, but it should be a series of pictures from our 2018 B workshop on the theme of body. So it's going to be a detailed documentation of that project, while I will be speaking in more broad terms and general strokes on what City Lab is all about, without discussing the images. Hopefully they will provide a nice counterpoint to what I have to say. So thank you very much, Trevor, for this introduction. It encapsulates what we do very eloquently. Indeed, we met a year ago at our last City Lab here in Athens. Little did we know back then that the ways we have been working so far would have to change so drastically. The last workshop was on fear, fear in the city, and again, little did we know that almost 6-8 months later, the fear of unknown contagious disease would change the way we see public spaces in the city today. But that was last year. This year is a different story. My name is Stavros Alifragkis. I'm an architect, and I'm going to present this in broad terms what City Lab does. The co-author of this paper is Panagiotis Pangalos, who is behind this project from the very beginning. Panagiotis could not be here with us today because he's actually organizing the next City Lab 2020, which is taking a different shape, a different format. It's going to be an arts, architecture, and exhibition at the National Museum of Contemporary Art. For those of you who are around in December in Athens, would like to invite you to visit us at the museum if the coronavirus situation makes that happen. So the City Lab initiative describes an attempt to produce dialectical knowledge and experiential knowledge on the basis of regenerating already existing or setting up new channels of communication with stakeholders, with different stakeholders, and produce collaborative work on different but intertwined and extremely current aspects of architectural history, theory, criticism, design, of course, urban history, city planning, and other visual and performing arts. So quite a broad area of interest there. This initiative involves the design, planning, and delivery of several up to 2 each year, intensive, hands-on, collaborative with tutors and our partners, and participatory workshops on different abstract themes, which in combination with scientific symposia, theatrical plays, and art exhibitions aim to inform the current academic discourse and systematize or even further the exchange of ideas between agents, actors, and stakeholders with diverse academic, professional, or artistic profiles. The themes are quite wide, but we are very much interested in multifaceted phenomena of the city that affect diachronically the evolution, growth of the contemporary city in Greece and potentially abroad. So this could probably resonate with our partners in the Nordic Urban Lab. So what do these things actually mean? They sound nice, they look good on paper. How do we manage to deliver, if we manage to deliver? So in the recent past, City Lab workshops and symposia have brought together under the same roof a considerable number of undergraduate and graduate students, between 70 and 90 students per workshop, depending on how many tutors we could engage. So different students of different academic disciplines, architecture and city planning mainly, arts, geography, history, psychology, and some even minor cases like economics, which was quite interesting, and many experienced and prolific members of academic staff from different universities and teaching institutions in Greece. So there was quite a mix of interesting people from all over the country, meeting in two different places, beginning in Patras and now in Athens. The constant aim is to investigate potential future roles for architecture and the arts in the dynamic process of shaping the contemporary, ever-changing urban landscape and rendering the urban experience more meaningful, sensory rich, and aesthetically rewarding, if possible. Each intensive workshop focused on a different, abstract, and culturally thick notion as their specific subject matter, such as the notion of cityness, faith, eros, and so on. The end product of each workshop was an amalgam of paper presentations, that's the symposium part, and student projects, which is the workshop equivalent, addressed its subject matter creatively and imaginatively with a view to upset established expectations and ideas about the city. So in a way, theory in the form of paper presentations by speakers and tutors, and practice, on the other hand, in the form of conceptual design projects, comprise the main nexus of the philosophy of the City Lab initiative. In the end, the edited volumes, each dedicated to a single symposium and workshop, have been published both in printed format, but limited circulation, and digitally, and disseminated widely via the project's designated website and social media accounts. So these yearly or biannual events were planned and executed by City Lab and various collaborators and partners. For example, the municipality of Patras, the Patras Municipal Theatre, the Athens School of Fine Arts. I'm coming back to this in a moment, and so on. More precisely, City Lab workshops 2014 on cityness, 2015 on faith, and 2016 on eros took place in the port city of Patras under the aegis of the municipality of Patras, the Patras Development Municipal Enterprise, and the local architects association, as well as the University of Patras, and most importantly, the Municipal and Regional Theatre of Patras, with the generous support of the Green Fund of the Ministry of the Environment, which in a way covered a very important part of the expenses for speakers who came from other cities to stay with us in Patras for the whole duration of the workshop, which back then was 7 to 9 days. That made for a very interesting coexistence of different people for a long time over in the same space, working together with great commitment. City Labs 2017 on time, 2018 A on communication and B on body, 2019 A on future, and finally 2019 B on fear, took place in Athens at the premises of the Athens School of Fine Arts for a program that took place under the expert direction and guidance of Professors Yorgos Xiropaidis at first and Andreas Yakoumakatos later on, whom we heard yesterday discussing a very fine and potent point about contemporary metropolis, the notion of contemporary metropolis. These aspects, these points are very at the very heart of what the City Lab workshop does. So the integration of City Lab into the framework of an EU-funded program, the ROC Cultural Heritage Leading Urban Futures program, presented us with the valuable opportunity to experiment with our research tool set for the diagnosis, analysis, understanding, and creative solution searching of contemporary urban phenomena, developed so far within the scope of the annual symposiums and intensive workshops for the use of our European partners. So ROC was a chance for us to scale up and discuss our approaches with European partners, see what else is going on there, and how we can all benefit from knowledge that we have generated in this process. And this made us aware of current trends such as resilience, communication, sustainability, ecology, and things like that, which we incorporated in our subjects for City Lab. So, given the restrictions of time and the time of the day, I would like to, not read the rest of my presentation out, but maybe focus on various different things that are of extreme importance to us. The spaces of our workshops. In real estate, there are only three things that people say that matter: location, location, location. This is very true about our workshops as well. There is an organic relationship between what we do and where we do it, and it was from the very beginning our intention to move away from the comfort zone of students of architecture and city planning and meet the city halfway out there, not in the public spaces, but halfway through. So interesting spaces like warehouses always capture our eye, and that's what we did in Patras, where we were hosted the City Lab for 3 years at the Bari warehouses, port warehouses, that were turned into cultural and exhibition spaces for the Municipal Theatre of Patras. So they had a second stage there for rehearsals, and during our workshops there used to be rehearsals there, and students from our workshops would communicate with actors and follow their routines and some warm-up exercises that were also useful for us to build the team spirit. When we moved to Athens and the Athens School of Fine Arts, one would say that that's a more formal way of doing things. However, if you have been to the Athens School of Fine Arts, you'll realize it's a fantastic space, former industrial space that has been turned into a educational space, and we occupied the amphitheater, which you saw at the beginning of my presentation, the Kiriko Amphitheater, but also the old library, which was an open fluid space with lots of exposed concrete in the way that we architects like our spaces to be. And the new library, which you actually see here, designed by the Alifragkis couple and of Atelier 66, a very famous architectural firm in Greece, which also incorporated a theatrical space, and that's where we set up our workshop, in this little theater in the School of Fine Arts. Who is our target audience? And it came up very often in the discussion in the morning, and it's very important to address this issue. Of course, most of our talks and events are public, are open to the public. But these workshops are specifically designed and addressed to undergraduate and postgraduate students, undergraduate students from mature ages, like fourth, fifth year, because the studies in Greece of architecture and art are 5 years long. So fifth, 4-year undergraduate students and postgraduate students are from different departments, as I said before. Different disciplines are also always welcome. We're very much interested in recruiting people from architecture, city planning, arts, geography, anthropology, social sciences, and so on. And they work in groups, and that's very important. We form groups in situ at the beginning of the workshop by drawing lots, having ballots. We don't accept pre-formed, pre-samed groups. Some of these people know each other in advance. They have worked before in advance, but that's not the point in this work. So the point is to communicate with 6, 7, 8 people, different people you don't know, you haven't met before, and try to exercise your rhetorical skills by communicating your ideas to people that you have only previously met. So it's a mix and match approach, which is painful at times, because it takes a lot of time and work to get the groups to work together and produce something meaningful, but also produces wonderful results when it does work. So the main aspect of these workshops and symposia are the speeches that are given by invited speakers on different subjects each time, different abstract subjects and themes. These are our intention not to provide exhaustive or complete or settled opinions about a subject, but to present a kaleidoscopic view of the field, generate questions through contradiction, debate, opposition, and variety, complexity, and as I said before, contradiction. And this becomes very obvious from the discussions we have. So it's 15, 20-minute talks, and then long discussions with those in present, because this is where students who attend the workshops actually refine their goals. So the aim of this symposium part is polyphony, it's polysemy, and to cultivate questioning, cultivate doubt. That's the way we think that new knowledge and research can be produced. So all these things, complexity, contradiction, they're not new. They might sound very postmodern to most of you. Nevertheless, they have never fallen out of fashion, and we are very much interested in pursuing that, but also pursuing the possibility of having guest lecturers who have specialized and skills and knowledge. So for this workshop that you are actually watching pictures, we had invited a firm, an architectural firm called Area, and also an artist and a university teacher, Maria Papadimitriou, who have been involved in producing in producing stuff for Victoria Square, that was the subject of our design for that
2 minutes.
workshop. Thank you. So abstract ideas behind our workshops. There is no architectural brief in the traditional sense, but abstract themes and our desire to bridge the abstract with the precise and the specific. That's how we cultivate cultures of thinking, and the whole workshop is about the process of getting there from the abstract to the practical, not the final results. And you can see probably from the images that some of the results might look naive or even childish. This is very welcoming. This is actually a good thing, because we try to think outside our normal architectural studies. The whole workshop is about reasoning, and the reasoning behind these projects is quite profound at times. So there are different stages in the process. I think Kostas made an excellent presentation of the design from the conceptualization to the materialization. We never get to materialize our stuff. This is probably something for the future to discuss for future evolution of CityLab. But what we are most notably known for is our fringe educational and cultural events. Fringe within quotations, because they are not at the periphery at all. They are at the very center of our educational process. There are two kinds of events with our workshops. One is special events on Greek architects, where they come and discuss their projects in detail and their thinking behind the projects, which is okay, it's very normal. And the other is more interesting, I think. It has to do with, it deals with how architects and artists can expand, augment their expression, their means of expression. So we have different theatrical plays, we have artistic exhibitions, we have modern dance, we have projections of movies as part of these workshops, which make, I think, a well-balanced result in the end. As I said before, the teaching process has to do with experiential knowledge, but also this bridging between practice and theory. This is how we think we can create a new generation of thinkers and practitioners that will turn their focus to the public space and make our public spaces more livable spaces. Thank you very much for your attention.